All right, let me click on
Morning.
that. Good morning. How's everybody? How's your week going?
Things are picking up slowly, slowly.
Right? I know. I'm like my time to relax is over. And that's good. It's a good thing, but definitely picking up a lot. So, how'd this week with sessions go for you guys? I didn't get many questions again, so hopefully they're going good. Who watched the sessions this week? Who's here? Why are you guys here? That's a question I should ask every single week, right? It's like, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that this week's sessions were a really good reminder for me personally, and just because I feel like I reach out a lot, and I do, but there's always a lot more that I can do. I do feel like sometimes I run out of ideas, or clients run out of babies that they've had or weddings that they've had for me to congratulate them on. So I'm kind of looking for reasons to reach out. But even just like something this morning, and as I was rewatching a session back, was I've been starting to do a lot of blog posts and just kind of creating a lot of deliverables based off of frequently asked questions that I get from people who are moving out to the suburbs. And I'm always coming up with like these, that they're great blogs and whatever, but why have I never asked my whole community of people, what are your gaps when you're thinking of moving to the suburbs? And even for the people who haven't yet moved, there could be so many different questions. I just like literally right after I watched a session, I practiced on like a very safe client. And I asked her, I'm like, is there anything that you might want to learn about? And she's like, Cate, I am so lost on where to go to eat in Westchester. So I was like, okay, that's really helpful for me. So now I was able to go back in. I started editing out my my food guide for it. And I actually reached out to a few restaurant owners that I know of to kind of see how I can get them incorporated a little bit more, whether that be on social media with little events or things like that. So it's crazy how just reaching out once to somebody can spark an entire idea like that. So now right after I get off this call or sometime today, I'm going to just email my entire community and say, what type of blog post or what type of things would you guys like to hear about if you're still in the city, to get you feeling more comfortable coming out here. I know there's a lot of questions on daycares that I'm getting from a lot of parents, and kind of what like the average costs of that are. And this research that I'm doing is very helpful, not just for me who might have to use daycares in like the next 5 or 6 years, but for them too, because it's a very consistent question that I'm getting. So things like that. So I highly suggest, if you guys haven't done, it doesn't always need to be blog posts. It can just literally sit in a Google Doc and you could ask the question and then write the answer on there. But that's another way just to go start reaching out to your clients again in the past. And actually it doesn't always feel, I know a lot of people are probably going to, in my head, I'm like, I don't want to reach out too little, but I also don't want to reach out too much where they kind of feel like I'm looking for an excuse to reach out to them. I really want it to feel very genuine. And also another thing I do is like, I really try and stalk in like the least creepy way on social media as much as I can, because there could be really small milestones, somebody getting a job promotion, and there could be really large milestones. I mean, I'm not like that's a small one, but little things like that could just be like the smallest thing, but you making it a point to write a handwritten card or write an email or send a text or pick up the phone that day, you might be one of like the only people who actually thought to make it an important part of your day to go and reach out. And that could be on birthdays, that could be on anything. I told like the thing, I think a few months ago, I don't know if we had playbook going on, but I was telling like my coaching clients, for a lot of like my clients who are gay this year, I'm sort of like, whatever. I sent out pride flowers to every single person from this company. I have never gotten a better response ever. They were like, Cate, you were like one of the only people who actually thought to send us like an email like that out of a lot of the businesses that we support. I was like, are you kidding me? What? And it was such a fun month for them. And then we got invited to barbecues and things like that. So little things, like there's always things that you could be reaching out and doing, and you can think outside the box. For you clients who love coffee, there's probably like a national coffee day that you can send them something for. So there's really no excuse to not be reaching out to these people. You just have to get creative for it. And also, yes, there's times, like Chirag was saying, you can offer them the equity analysis and things like that. But I also like to come up with really fun, kind of like human ways to talk to people, instead of just, I'm the realtor talking to you. And, sometimes that can feel transactional, which is kind of something that I shy away from a little bit. So that was my take on the week, but I want to hear from you guys. Like, what do you feel like is stopping you from actually sending these emails? Because yes, I'm just going to say it. I know that is a thing. Like, we all watch these calls and we say, oh, that'd be such a great idea. You're probably sitting here saying, I would love to do the same thing Cate just said to do. Why do you not do it? And you can think about it.
I didn't have the idea. That's a great idea with the pride flowers. Never thought of it. Never crossed my mind. That's so great.
Yeah. And they were gorgeous too. I grabbed some for myself too. Matt was like, are we good? I'm like, no, yeah, I'm good. It's fine. What else?
I think it's just, like you said, knowing when it is really going to be received in an authentic way, or show that it's authentic, versus I need to reach out to you because you haven't heard from me in X number of months. Yeah. And I think that can be kind of off-putting to people. So
100%.
I'm actually trying
to
be less, which I know is not perfect, but I'm trying to be less in touch.
I think you have to find a cadence that works really well for you with each client. And that's why I think a lot of it does start. I was just having this conversation with one of my coaching clients this morning. How you have to learn about your clients. I had another agent in my office stop me yesterday, and he's like, Cate, I can't think of a gift to give to people. And people in like my office know I love doing like crazy gifts for all my clients. So I was helping him kind of walk through. I'm like, well, what kind of food do they like? Are they drinkers? Do they not drink? Do they have kids? Whatever. And I was asking him all these questions, and he's like, we came up with like 4 great gift ideas. Like, how did I never think of this? You have to get to know your clients during the transaction a little bit more, so that when you do go to reach out, it's not always just about gifting, but it's what you reach out for. Like, if I had a client like Matt, my fiance, who's like a massive everything sports fan, why not text and say, oh my God, did you see Judge hit, 3 homers last night or whatever it was? Like, and I have no idea that happened. I just had to hear about it last night. I would probably text something like that, and I would be very authentic though to me. I would say, not like I watched the game, but I couldn't stop hearing about it from Matt. I'm sure you're really happy about whatever. I have no idea if they even won last night. Reaching out with something very genuine. It doesn't need to be this big thought up thing that you need to do, but you need to know the person so you know what to say. And that's where I do think like keeping a very good track. And this goes back to like the 4 seasons idea of your client. Knowing what those little things are about them and reaching out on those are going to be the difference maker in there, where even if you're reaching out twice in 1 month, but then you don't for a few months, when you do reach out, it's a very personal interaction.
So can I ask you, I don't mean to dominate, can I ask you if you would share how that get to know you is done? Because I think for me, I'm very businesslike with my clients. And so it's hard to know them at the end I am ashamed to say that, but it's hard to know a lot of details about them at the end of the transaction, especially if it's like a quick, their house sold quickly or they found what they wanted pretty quickly. I end up at the end of the transaction, I'm like, I don't really know anything about you.
Yeah.
So can you describe how you do that? Can you do?
It's a little, first of all, it's like, it's my personality. I will say, like, I can talk to a wall and know everything about it by the end of it. And I think the wall's like, can she shut up now? I really have tried. I think in the past few years, I was so nervous when I got into this business. I was so young. I'm like, no freaking way is this person going to go list this. Even if it was like a $700,000 house with me, I thought it was like the best thing ever. So I was so nervous. And my mom would like shake me. She's like, can you relax? Like, you're out of your own body right now, so nervous. And I think that the clients were feeling that. And I was just trying to do a great job in a business-like sense. Once I and it probably wasn't until like the late last year, once I kind of took that front down and I had the confidence to just be my genuine self with the client. Yes, it's a given that I'm good at what I do and I can get your offer accepted. I can get you a very high price for your house, blah, blah, blah. But also, do we like each other? And is this going to be an enjoyable 3 months, 10 months with some clients if they're looking for a really long time? I really try to insert little things where I can have the opportunity to get to know them. So if I'm going out on a tour, like during the summer, I feel like for me, even maybe it's just like my market, but I do a lot of town tours. So like when people are coming out from the city and they want to go and experience, not really necessarily even go into houses, but just kind of get to know the towns, I always make it a point to go and stop for coffee, stop for lunch, make little pit stops like that, so that I have the opportunity where we're not necessarily talking about the houses. We can be debriefing, but I'm also asking them a lot of questions about themselves and just having a good time with it. And I don't really know exactly how like the conversation starts, but I've always been a person where I just kind of like, well, I'll address an elephant in the room, or, if somebody shares something, I'll share something personal about myself. Like I'll talk about Matt, I talk about my relationship, where I'm from, and all this kind of stuff. And I think when you kind of put your walls down, even some of the coldest people who I was like, I'm never going to be able to break them, I do find myself being able to break at the end of the transaction. So I think it starts with you being open and being a little bit vulnerable. Usually it'll follow through. And sometimes I haven't had people who follow through with that. And to be honest, I ask myself the question of like, is this maybe the right client for me? Because I also want to enjoy those couple months. Like no amount of money is worth it, I've realized, for me to make myself miserable for like 2 months of a transaction.
So you're saying you basically insert those little stops along the way where you're not in the house per se, but you've said, let's meet for a coffee to talk about X, Y, or Z, or let's just
get to know each other. Yeah, kind of like break that barrier of I'm just a real estate agent. I also will really try not to like book my days super tight. I'd rather take out 1 or 2 clients a day, maximum 2. Like I know some people who try and take out like 5 clients a day. I know it happens sometimes, but I want people to feel like this is an experience for us to get to know each other, especially at the beginning. That's another reason why I take these hour-long, 45-minute long consultation calls with people. So I have the opportunity to get to know them, coming up with questions that you can ask them, why are you moving out here? What do you like to do on the weekends? And just picking up, like, I really do try and take like one thing and then elaborate on it. Like if they say, we love to go hiking, I'm like, oh, where have you been? Have you guys taken any trips? Which parks have you been to? And then it opens up like this whole other conversation where we're on a large tangent that to some people, if you're thinking I don't want to be on like the phone for that long, or like I am just more transactional in like a sense, like that tangent is more important to me than learning about how many bedrooms they want. Because if we have that rapport, all that stuff is going to be fluff on top of it. That's how I like to work personally, and I've seen it be successful.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. It really does like start within yourself though. I found like when I was more vulnerable, I was so much more well received by the client. And I was actually honestly being myself. I don't know who I was trying to be for like those first few years, but I feel better, and I actually enjoy my days a lot more knowing that the clients I'm working with like me for me and actually know who I am, not just this like, all my friends call me like business Barbie, like not just the business Barbie side of things. What else? No other things? Yes.
I'll say for me, I'll call people, and I love some of the ways that you're setting things up. I'm also very much business-like, but I'll always call all the time and be like, hey, just checking in, wanted to say hi, see how everything's going. For me, I get really, what's the right word? Like emotionally bummed when they don't return the call, like when you're calling for months at times. And, there's some people that, you sit there and go, do I need to be calling anymore? Or do I stop calling and just maybe send notes or e-reports or stuff like that? So that's the hard part is, when they don't respond back or call back or text back or whatever that is.
Do you feel, I'm going to ask, like, don't be offended by this. I always like address the elephant in the room. Do you feel like the calls that you're doing with those clients that aren't returning your calls back, do you feel like it's more, for a lack of a better term, like damage control or cleanup from maybe the lack of reach outs or personal things you guys were talking about during the transaction? Like,
no,
this is like a difference in how much you're reaching out on a personal level?
So I've been in Buffini coaching for 15 years. And so, every month, a lot of them are getting, like not like a newsletter, but they're getting like a item of value and then A lot of them are every 2 weeks later and getting like an e-version type report.
Mhm.
And I'm getting a really good open rate. And I know during the transaction, they're all like, oh my God, that was amazing. And thank you so much and yada, yada. And then it's like down the road, and I do stay in touch and call and whatever. But then, like I said, after a while, they just don't respond or don't ever call back. Some of these people, I'll take gifts and leave little small Popeyes by their house, and they don't even respond back with the thank you. So
Yeah.
I know sometimes my coach is like, well, then just don't bother. But it just kind of then ties into you don't want to throw the baby in with the bathwater, but it's like, okay, so, how many times do you try and call or reach out before you
Yeah.
start filling? And I'm never like, hey, would love your business. It's always really just like, hey, just checking in to say hi and see how you're going, which is
Yeah.
usually the voicemail that I leave.
Well, first of all, some people just suck, first and foremost. So yeah, some people it might not be worth it. There's definitely some people I'm like, actually lose my number because that was really a terrible experience. I don't want to put myself through that. But I have also seen sometimes, and I'm not saying it is, but it could be a situation where they loved you as a real estate agent, but it's not even like they didn't love you as a person. They didn't know you as a person outside of that role.
Got it.
So making it a point to show both sides during the transaction so that there are things to talk about. They might just say, if I get on the phone with her again, we sold her, our house is sold, or we bought our house. What else is there to talk about? I don't know her kids' names. I don't know her husband's, whatever it is. So that's why I do make it a point that's what I mean with the vulnerability of sharing things about you, because then you're going to start to open up those floodgates with them where there are things to talk about afterwards. Otherwise, the conversation can feel a little dry or it's a checklist item. Oh, made my calls today.
Perfect. Yeah.
Hey,
thanks.
Kate, can I chime in on that real quick?
Come on in.
Always good to see you.
Good to see you.
Nicole, one thing that's worked for me that I started doing about a year ago that no other agent really does, but they should, easy and free. Instead of the emails or the phone calls, so I have a challenge with my team to do 3 to 5 people a week in their sphere of influence, and they send a quick video text.
Yeah.
Because I've found that people want to engage more and they appreciate it more when they see you, because it's more emotional. They can see you, they see what you have on, they see the sunny weather. It's more real than just a letter or an email or a newsletter. So I try to mix that into my touches with my clients, and the engagement has been really, really good. The feedback, it's a video text, it's not rocket science, and people will respond all the time oh my gosh, you made my day, or oh my gosh, that's so cool, thank you. And it can be as simple hey, it's Tommy, just checking in, I hope you guys are well. It's 120 degrees and we're out of the summer. Is it ever going to get cooler? If you ever need anything, give me a shout. That's it.
Yeah.
So they know what
Thanks,
you do.
Tommy.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm new to this group. I just want to introduce myself and kind of piggyback off of what Tommy was just saying. The video is so powerful. And I found that if I have a contact, whether it's someone I've worked with or someone I want to work with, and maybe I don't have their Instagram handle or their social media, but I know that that's where I spend time and that's where a lot of my marketing is. So if I see a random video on Instagram or Facebook, I'll copy and paste the link and text it to them and be like, hey, saw this funny video and thought of you. If it's something we related on, whether it's a funny animal video or whatever. And I find that they usually respond, and then now we're connected on whatever platform that is. And I can have that follow, I can follow them back. And it's just, then they pop up in my feed and I'm having these touch points kind of subconsciously with them. And that's super helpful and less invasive. It's usually for me about something that's, humorous, because I think we all need a little laugh, especially lately. So I just wanted to give my piggyback off of the video and how powerful that is as well.
Yeah. And one more thing that I'll say as well is, I'm kind of whatever, I don't know, is it a cockroach you can't get rid of? I kind of make myself that in the transaction. Obviously I don't do it in a way that's I'm at their doorstep every single day, but things like renovations, furniture, anything like that. Anything that I can find that I can kind of insert myself to be that person. So after the transaction is done, they have to keep following up with me. Like the amount of renovations I've been stopping by at just to go like see my clients, see what's going on. First of all, it's a blast for me. I have so much fun. My contractors and everyone I'd love to see anyway. But like make it a point to say, hey, is it okay if I stop by? I'd love to see the work. They can say yes or no, but you have to reach out and say things like that. How's the furniture going? A few months later, the next month, do you need anything? How's this? Just wanted to remind you, like, we're in New York. So like before the fall comes up, before the winter comes up, hey, do you guys need anything? Just wanted to make sure, I just did X. Maybe you want to think about doing the same. Wanted a gentle reminder on it. Anything like that you can continue to kind of follow up on and have like a reason to. I think is always good. But like the renovation thing has been, I don't know if like that's just me. I have a lot of clients doing renovations right now. That's been a huge way for me to stay really connected with them afterwards. And they want my input. Anything else? Are there any other like nerves that people have before reaching out? This is good, practicing vulnerability. It's just with me though this time. I'll wait because I know there's some. Because I know that not every single person is going to leave this feeling 100% like I know who I'm going to reach out to, I know what I'm going to say, and I know I'm going to click send. Or everybody's going to do it and they're going to send me personally to my text that they just did it to like, I don't really care about how many people. Do it to 1, do it to 5, 10, I don't really care.
I'm going to go back to my 2022 buyers
Okay.
and follow up and say, I remember we talked about X, curious how that turned out, would love to see it, and I'm going to start inserting a coffee somewhere in a search. I'm doing a coffee with people. It's a great idea. Yeah,
Good.
it's great. I love
Good.
it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody's very welcome. How does, I mean, I know this is like always like a hot topic, but does anybody feel like their gap on the less than like the personal? I think the personal's a little bit easier because you have a person in mind, you text them or email them, whatever. How about on like the bulk mail side of things? Is the CRM a gap for people? Do they feel like it's organized-ish? Every person thinks it's perfect. Great. Don't come into mine because mine's not perfect. That's something that I would really, because I know for a fact, even if people don't admit it, I know for a fact that that's not perfect in there. I need to hammer down this again. Make sure that your tags, it doesn't need to be a lot, but make sure that every tag that you have, you can actually see yourself having to send some sort of bulk email to that group. That is truthfully one of the only reasons why you need that tag in there. Let's be honest. Unless you're going and planning an event and need the guest list of people or whatever it is. If you haven't done that, a lot of what we're talking about is going to be a little bit harder to do. If you don't have these notes about your clients in there, it's going to be harder to remember them. You might remember them in that moment when you're on Instagram that it was just, they just moved their son or daughter into college or whatever it is. But if you don't have notes of all these things that you're seeing, or if you're not doing it right in the moment, it's going to be really hard to actually build up some sort of profile on each one of these clients. Making a time block, making sure that you're actually putting in time to only focus on this. Even if you're only doing a few clients a day, searching on their Facebook, searching on their LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever it is, or anywhere else that you can kind of learn some more information about them, or talking to them for your active clients that you're in with now. Make it a point to be updating these profiles every day or 3 times a week, whenever your time block you really want to be. Is that something that we all feel like we can kind of commit to? Wow, I really just sounded like a coach in that moment. Someone put that on a sign. It's like I'm a coach. Anything else? We have a few more minutes. I'm here from a few more people. I'm so tired of hearing my own voice. So you guys must be tired of hearing my own voice. Okay. I'll let everybody go then. You got me
Thanks,
for 3 more
Kate.
minutes. Well, please like make it a point to do a few of these this week. Once you get into like the rhythm of that, I think it'll be very easy to keep going and kind of make this part of your routine. Okay. I'm gonna go do it. I'm
Appreciate
gonna
it.
go get some blog posts up by next week. Who knows what people are gonna ask me for? Let's see if I can do it.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you
Great.
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks.